До упора. О. До упора. So I prepare this talk in English. Should I continue in English or українська була ок? English, okay, great. So, hi everyone, hi. Hello, hi Rubizza, yeah, clap, come on, wake up. Come on, yeah. Why so sad? I don't know. So I prepared this talk in English because organizer says that this is international conference. We have speakers from Belgium. I said, okay, it's not a problem because I'm from Lviv. Okay, so my Russian sucks. Something like Gorobets, Drabina, Gilka, вот это. And I said, I can give in English. They say, okay, give in English. My name is Volodya Sveredyuk. I am head of product engineer in a very young IT company that named like Superpower Soft. We are so young that we not have any kind of website and logotype because we are so young, yeah. I'm from Lviv, Ukraine, yeah. Some of you may, I think I need to click here, yeah. Yeah, nice works. So maybe some of you hear about PureRock. Please raise a hand who heard or know about PureRock. Wow. Okay, so PureRock, I think it's probably the best Ruby community in the world. But I said probably, I not say like for sure. Yeah, PureRock, it's a Ruby user group in Lviv. We are doing like meetups, conferences, Ruby courses, training, workshops, also Rails girls. We go in further and Rails elders, Rails teens, etc. So we're pretty active. And PureRock is, I think, the most friendly community in the world and most hugging community in the world. Last PureRock, we had a huge delegation from Minsk, from Dima and the company Data Rockets. So very often I hear a question like, why PureRock? Why Ruby user group has so strange name? What it doesn't mean even PureRock? So this explanation, of course, you may guess what it means, but for English speakers, for English-speaking friends, so, okay, Pure is beer, it's easy, you know it, it's beer. And rock, it's a crowfish. No? So if you put these two words together, you have Pivo and rock. Why? Because in the end of every meetup, in the end of every event that PureRock been organized, we drinking beer and eating crowfish. Yeah, it's easy. Yeah, and really, we eating crowfish. And it's also some kind of symbolic, because like rock or crowfish, they know what it means like, yeah? Same as, I think in Lviv it means same as in Minsk. And so rock, it's a bad developer. No, like your hands like rak klishnya, and you cannot do anything on your computer. So in the end of meetup, we just eat them. I'm very proud because like this year, my dream comes true. I teach Tender Love how to eat crowfish. I think now I can finish my Ruby career because I cannot achieve more. So yeah, but this was great. Also at PureRock, we have very good YouTube channel. A lot of famous faces been speakers on PureRock, and we recorded very professional videos with audio and screen sharing. But one of my favorite talks on PureRock is talk by Dima Maleev. Dima Maleev is a software architect, and it's talk called like, don't become an architect until you are old enough. So Dima Maleev is maybe like more than 10 years experience. He was the chief architect in EPAM in Lviv office, and super experienced guy. It's my favorite talk. You should definitely watch it. Like if you follow this link and open it. And his talk inspired me to prepare my talk about architecture, but in Ruby, of course, because I am a Ruby developer. And today, nope. Why focus change? I should press again. Yeah. And today, I'm going to present you something special. It's called Architecture for the Best Ruby Application. And I call it AxR. AxR. Because I think if you want to invent your own architecture, first you need to have a very cool name. Because it's very important for marketing to have a cool name for architecture. Then you can do that. Okay. So my story. I started a lot, like many years ago, as a Delphi developer, then was PHP. Now it's Ruby, Elixir, and JS as well. 21, it's amount of project that I delivered to production. I mean, it's not amount of projects that just like I was coded, but I participated. And this project has been delivered to production and running in production. Huge fan of TDD. So I know, like, please raise a hand who is a junior developer. Like, write Ruby less than 3 years. Less than 3 years, please. Come on, don't be shy. OK. So guys, the key point for your education, how to become a successful Ruby developer, is TDD. Trust me. DDD is your next level. It's domain-driven design. Also a huge fan of it. But I hate complexity. Really. Like, complexity is something that introduces very, very high cost in any application. So hours of debugging, figure out what is going on, why things is so complex, why this abstraction is even exist. I really, really hate complexity. OK, maybe as you, I also read a book that's called Domaindriven Design, Blue Book. Do you read this book? Oh, Dima? OK, yeah, of course. It's major book for senior level, of course. Excellent book. I love very much the concepts that have been described in this book, but this book have one problem. Basically, this book have 560 problems. It's too big. It's too fat. Like, what I'm scared is that in nowadays, junior developers like do not read books, as they definitely will not read so huge and complex book. OK, I know how to fix this. I have a quick solution. It's called Domain-Driven Design Quickly, only 100 pages. Yeah, less pages, but complexity is the same. Like, junior developers in my team can't understand why we need this. Yeah, basically, why we need this. Like, because we can do it, because you want something cool, you've been on a conference, you hear from stage, from very respected speakers that you should do it in your application. I really need this. I think programmers suffer only from 2 illnesses, you know? It's a scoliosis. And I think it's like a maniac passion of let's rewrite everything, yeah? Let's rewrite, let's refactor this. Customers always like wondering, why I need to refactor this? You started this project like 3 months ago. Why I need to refactor already? You're bad developers. Why introduce legacies in so early stage? OK. I think it's about trends. No? So like we're reading books, articles, visiting conferences, and we want all this interesting stuff in our daily work. But no, cool things, it's not about complexity. Cool things, it's about simplicity. And discipline, of course, as well. Because like we can craft cool architecture, you know. We can draw the huge drawing on a wall, like with the block schemas and arrows, circles, charts, and etc. We can give a cool talk on a conference how to do architecture. We can make a tattoo of your architecture on your back. So, yeah. But if your teammates do not adopt it, it's waste. Because in Rails itself, it's much simpler to add validations to your model. And just like you want user, create user, valid name, email, save. That's all. It's very easy if you want like just add validation. But now your persistent layer knows something about your input layer, because it's about how your persistence layer accepts your input. OK. Because much harder to keep your model clean and create explicit form object where you like You can handle your input, you can validate it. If it's okay, you can transit this data to the real persistence layer and then save it. Yeah. So you need to introduce much code, more code, and of course about tests. Before you had one test, now you need at least 2 spec files. Because it's much simpler to send greeting invitation email after user been created. Yeah, it's very easy, only 2 lines of code, basically. But now, your persistence layer knows something about your notification layer. Because sending emails, push notification on phones, on mobile apps, on Slack, or whatever, it's notification layer. Okay, and yeah, it's much harder to create a separate create user service, extract, all the transaction, using your forms, etc. It's harder. Because it's called Rails architecture. So for the last, I think, couple years, I heard a lot like Rails architect. It's a real position in big companies. Rails architect. What does it even mean, Rails architecture? Like, okay, I agree with backend architecture. Okay, web application architecture, or like software solution architecture. But Rails architecture, really? Okay, let's talk about Rails architecture. So, what exactly it means? It's about directory structures. Yeah, it's a real project. This project is very profitable. It generates 20 million revenue per month. It's about directory structures, or it's about patterns that you use it. You read new patterns, chain of responsibility, for example. And now you start applying these patterns. Or maybe something else. So I think architecture is not about code, basically. Architecture is about how to put things together. Yeah, things. Architecture, in my opinion, it's about knowledge sharing. It's about your business logic. That's, of course, because we always building applications for business. Like, we never build applications because we can or we want, always for business. And Rails itself, it's a place where everything can be familiar or know about anything else in your system, and it's very hard to make this limitation. But in general, we don't need this. In such kind of application, much simpler visualization will be something like this one. You have your API, it's familiar with logic. You have presentation, it needs permissions, validations working through logic, the notification, repo integrations. It's much simpler. Yeah, but so, and what, like any application, if you will simplify as much as possible, any application will always look like you have an API, the business in the middle, and your persistent layer is your repository. I like to call it repo because it's cool. It sounds cool, like in a Phoenix, in Ecto, we have repos, and yeah, and that's what I call AxR. A, R, and X in the middle, because X it's you. X it's your code that you put in the middle between your API and between your repo. Okay, simple question: how to implement this in Ruby or in Rails? Okay, in Ruby, because in Ruby, you can call any piece of code from any place in the application, and it works. All you need is just like compose. We have modules. Basically, in Ruby, modules are very useful. So, because modules introduce almost real namespaces, and it's okay, because class user defined in one module, it's a different class defined in a different module. So let's look at some very simple example. Just imagine that you adopt AxR architecture and you wrap all your code that's responsible for API layer in your application into modules that's called API. It's easy. You basically always do this if you introduce like REST API or any kind of API. You always create like module API, module version 1, version 2, etc. You know it. And then inside the API, you can work directly with the Rails models, or you can work with only with your business logic. This application it's like endpoints that create event on a PureRock. So this events controller can create like event, and it's called like modules is called PureRock. It's a business logic module. Only one public function is called like create event with params. It's a result. The result can be valid or not. So I'm talking not about implementation of how you will call your service object. I'm talking about responsibility segregation. And model PureRock itself is only a facade. So I highly recommend you to read about facades. It's very useful if you want to isolate your business logic into reusable components. So facade only delegate this create event method to internal service objects that's called PureRock create event. Yeah, this is very easy. And PureRock create event working with the repo. So your logic work with repo directly. So your API doesn't work with repo, but your API work with logic. Logic work with repo. So what? Yeah, but like how you control this? Okay, you build a convention on a project that from this day we will split responsibility. We will call logic from API and repo from logic, and not call, for example, API from repo and logic from repo. Just not make a math in our application. How you control this? Yeah, merge request, code reuse. It's very easy. You can like submit merge request. Then someone will review your code by eyes and say like, hey, here you violate some rule, and you should not call notification layer from repo layer. But no, it doesn't work, because once you will go to vacation and return after vacation, junior developers, they merged all merge requests without your review, and suddenly repository turns into a bunch of garbage and workarounds. To prevent this, I built special DSL that's called AxR. So it's a very simple DSL. So you can define your AxR application like layers. And by convention, when you define all layers, that layers get a weight from, like index from, like 0, 1, 2. So in simple convention, like bottom layers cannot communicate with the top layers. And with this checker, you can run very simple CLI applications that's called AxR. You can select AxR check dot, it's mean like all application. Of course, you should load your Rails application, because by default, AxR checker does not know anything about Rails, about the application. So you need to load it, and then you can like, yeah, 49 files scanned, non-zero detected. And when someone violates your rule, so you say like that repo should be isolated fully and should not know anything about PureRock, about business layer. So when someone will introduce this code, like break your convention, AxR will display you that here, repo layer should not be familiar with PureRock. And of course, you can add this checker to your continuous integration pipelines, and will simplify delivery. And now you have not like to be checker on every merge request, but now you can make some kind of automatization about this work. Okay, so hello world example, it was okay. What about real projects? Please welcome Remark. So Remark, it's a project that we built. It was third project in a row that we built with this approach, with AxR application. So it's some kind of social media aggregation data as a service. It helps musicians to connect all of their data sources. We know how to aggregate this data, and then with some data analysis magic, you can like view charts if you are popular or not. Basically not, because most musicians never become popular. But anyway, so architecture of this application was pretty simple. We have API module. Basically, this application was built within GraphQL. And GraphQL is very cool, so you should try it if you not yet tried GraphQL. So we isolated off all GraphQL code in API module. So all queries, mutations, types, etc., living in the modules that call API. In the middle, they have a special model that's called Remark, basically because Remark is the name of application, it's the name of business. So our business layer, it's easy, we just name it Remark. And then under Remark, we have 3 different isolated layers. It's store. Store is in-memory data that should not be persisted in a database. It's countries, cities, so like a lot of data that just store in memory. Then repo, basically it's active record. You know, so I think a lot of you had a problem with active record. When you smashed working with data across all applications, and now it's a mess, now it's a problem. What we did, we isolate active record inside repo module, and that's all. And we communicate with the repo module as with like a facade. We not call like repo user create. We call like repo.create user, you know. So and it's very good because under the hood we can change active record. Active record in the future, for example, I don't know, to SQL, and like it helps you to feel more confident. Now active records do not rule like your application. So how we can handle it with this DSL? For creating isolated, so okay, API, Remark, this 3 is isolated. For defining isolated layers, we have special options that's called isolated true. Right, that's all. That's how you can describe your application layer structure. And when I first time launched this checker on my local machine, I was so surprised how it even possible. I invented my own architecture. We as a team, we agreed on some conventions, and so many warnings. So because like it was a very stupid mistake. We defined a lot of public constants. For example, in where is it? In the repo layer, and then in the repo layer, and then like remote should be isolated. But remote used some parts from repo layer. You think that it can be like so what? No, but if you want extract remote code that plays in remote module from your application, it will be hard because it's a dependency. And AxR check it this like show a lot, we violate a lot of rules. Like for example, repo layer should be not familiar with business logic, or business logic should be familiar with API. Yeah, it was fun. Okay, so 2 hours of refactoring, and that's green. Like I feel so safety after this, and now everything is on the right places. I can ship this application in production and go sleep. Yeah, and of course we add the AxR checker to our. So we have a pipeline built with in GitLab CI, super CI, and as step of linting, so we have the Robocop, and second step right after Robocop, it's checking of our architecture. Everything like you can use AxR. I released this gem as on the Ruby gems, and of course on a GitHub. It still feels very raw. I'm experimenting a lot, but I think any kind of feedback can help me to release this AxR into stable version much faster. Okay, that was a very simple case. So like 5 layers, it's not something that you like can impress you, I think. 2 weeks ago, we started a new very super secret project. NDA is very strict, but anyway, I cannot pronounce the name of the company, but I can show you my ideas about how we can build architecture in this application for this company. So it's an ERP system. Do you know what I mean ERP system? Yeah, it's like Odin S, yeah? Odin S. Like foreigners always wondering why our national accounting system calls the like name of Odin S, like the S of the Scandinavian god. Yeah, nice. I like that you understand it. They also were laughing like, why is Odin S? Yeah, this application built from 2 parts. Like we have API, and UI. Yeah, we decided in 2019, we decided to introduce solid server-side rendering within Trailblazer cells, but only within Trailblazer cells. Also, the main, I think, business layer in the system will be inventory, because managing entities in a company is always about managing something that, like inventories, place it on your warehouses or different other locations, like your items, products, etc. Of course, ERP is always managing. It's managing about sales and supply. It's easy. You supply something through ERP, it's like put in inventory. You sell something through ERP, it's take from inventory. But itself, sales and supply, they should know something about inventory, so they should be familiar with inventory layer. But inventory is pretty isolated. And then inventory, familiar with 3 different layers. So in this project, we do not use active record. We pick SQL. It's like, I think it's much lighter and much easier to understand a SQL as a data mapper, not ORM. So we introduced 3 different isolated layers. Basically, under the hood, it's a SQL everywhere. So it's some kind of repo, and change, it's our fantasy about how change set from icto can be introduced in the Ruby world, and query. So here we put all our data queries that heavily querying database with heavily massive 200 lines SQL queries, because sure, this project it's also about the data analysis. So because this project is about rewriting 20 years old legacy massive ERP system with existing database in 184 tables. It's a hell. So how we can do this with our AxR application definition? Very easy. This code is not available now on a GitHub and Ruby Gems. It works only on my local machine because I'm experimenting now. So we can define application with some kind of defaults. Like we can say that all layers by default is isolated, because it's much easier by default isolate everything, and then only say that like, okay, so API familiar with ERP. Yeah, because it's true. API familiar with ERP, as you remember. UI also familiar with ERP. So ERP familiar with sales, inventory, supply. So inventory, sales with inventory, and 3 layers on the bottom, like repo, change, and query. It's pretty isolated. And that's all. We started a new project. We defined our architecture. We defined our knowledge sharing responsibility. By default, we included this step as a checker to our continuous integration pipeline. That's all. Like now, on merge requests, we spend less time because we have Rubocop that already said, are your code is okay or not? Because I'm not Rubocop. No, I hate like writing comments on a merge request, like double quotes or single quotes or magic string or magic number or what the fuck is this? Is even mean like, so we have a Rubocop with pretty strict rules. So if a pipeline is green, I'm okay that we can merge it. And of course, we have now AxR checker, and I'm sure that my junior developer will not break any kind of convention, even eventually, so I'm sleeping well now. Because we know how Railsway can hurt you, yeah? So Railsway promise you fast prototyping. Railsway promise you like fast time to market. And this fast time to market and fast prototyping can end up with total rewriting of everything. Or let's rewrite everything to Elixir. What about legacy applications? So this is a real screenshot from real project. It's my Sublime. This is my screen, so this part. So here is some kind of like, it's my screen. And do you see it? It's like has many. Here's like attributes readers. Here are scopes. It's a callbacks. It's some kind of magic meta programming stuff like concerns. And here's the public methods, and public methods started here. No? So it's a real code. How we can do this? So we have this user model. It's a user model. It's a user.rb. Fucking hell, I think. So refactoring, it's about create a new user class in your repo module where you can hold only 30 lines of code. Like declare only like has many, no validations, no callbacks, no public extra methods, no nothing. Only very simple active record, like the good parts of active records. And then you can still have your old legacy user model where you have 2,000 lines of code. It's a hell, of course. But then step by step, following Boy Scouts rule, following broken Windows rule, etc., you can rewrite your application from using legacy user to using new user. And then in the end, when you exclude using your legacy user, you can replace it. And this approach will not stop the world. You know, sometimes customers on the project, they want new features, like we need a new feature. And you said, it's impossible. Why? Because we need to refactor some parts of application. Okay, how much time you need to refactoring? 3 months. No way, never. Like, because like business, startups, companies, they want to make customers happy, not developers. Developers, it's a developer, it's not a value. Customer, it's a value. I call it refactoring friendly. So basically, AxR help us a lot to refactor old legacy applications. And yeah, it's refactoring friendly. Okay, for conclusions, let's review pros and cons of this approach. Pros, it's very simple. Yeah, even basic Ruby developer, very junior Ruby developer can understand how modules works in Ruby. It's a namespaces. By the way, 3 months ago, I had an interview with a 7-year Rails developer, and I asked him a question. Tell me something about namespaces in Ruby. And he said, it's like in routing, when you define namespace do in the config routes RB. I said, okay, so for 7-year Rails developer, namespaces in Ruby, it's creating namespaces in routes, you know? So he's not Ruby developer, he's Rails developer. But true Ruby developer know how modules works and how it can be very useful. It's flexible, so you can introduce layers into your system, like step by step, layer by layer, and then refactor your application to be more clear, more understandable. And it's also good because when a newbie engineer will on board in your team, the project, it's much easier to explain what is application about based on clear DSL and clear drawing than just like, go and read specs, now it's your problem. Checker, of course. Yeah, we have a checker, so we can always rely on checker. Again, it's about discipline, because same as we can comment specs or removing specs, same we can remove AxR checker from CI pipeline. Okay. It's framework agnostic. It's built for Ruby. It's not built for Rails or Hanami or Sinatra, etc. It's built for Ruby. So it's very lightweight. If you think that under the hood we analyze abstract syntax tree, no. It's simple line by line, like string checkers, that's all. It's very simple implementation. You can read the source code, you'll be impressed. Yeah, and it's refactoring friendly. I think it's not prevents you from starting using AxR in your current project from today. You cannot wait to start new project to start using AxR. You can start using AxR architecture today. Cons, it's too simple. So it's not for simplicity lovers. It's not for complexity lovers. It's for simplicity lovers. So cool guys that love complexity, some kind of very weird abstractions, and of course no documentation in the project because now there are dependencies in this project. So for them it's too simple. Team adoption, as usual, like for any kind of architecture, for any kind of approach, you can understand it very well. You can understand why you need Trailblazer, why you need DryRB. But if all other part of your team members not adopt it, it's a problem. I saw projects where 3 front-end engineers cannot deal on which framework they should use, and one front-end engineer is using like React, second one said, hey, fuck this React, I will use jQuery and continue writing code with this jQuery, and the third one said, hey, you're fools, I will write everything in a plain JavaScript and I will create my own framework. And customers of this project like, what? What the hell? Why are we bundle JS after like building assets? Now it's 17 megabytes. Of course, it's about discipline. So everything in our daily work is about discipline. Like writing specs, writing good code, refactoring code, it's about discipline. Not popular yet. It's not popular. In Ruby world, there are so many very good things like Trailblazer, like Dryerby, like Hanami, like I don't know, like Pagey, for example. I just discovered a new gem for pagination. But if you're not investing time into going on a conference, talking about this, if a DHH not tweeting about you in a Twitter, you're not popular, so you're not sexy. And of course, it's self-made. It's always a problem, like it's your own bicycle, why we should use this? I don't know. I think at least we can discuss it on a coffee break, or we can discuss it in the evening and after party when drinking beer, and thank you. And until you're preparing question in your own language, I highly recommend you to subscribe to my professional Telegram channel, where you can find a lot of jokes about Ruby, JavaScript, Elixir, and girls. So yeah, I put the QR code. You need to scan it and subscribe it. Thank you.
I have a question.
Of course.
How did you implement checker? Do you do any static analysis or how? Oh. You mentioned you do something like grep or.
Okay, that's we already okay. No, it's just simple line by line string matching. That's all. It's very simple. I can show you code later on.
Okay.
Okay. I built this checker in a couple of hours. You know, couple hours I spent. I don't want to spend a lot of time to writing the code because I hating writing code. I like to build applications. And this application should be valuable for the business because I am product engineer, I'm not code. Of course, I'm doing Ruby, Elixir, etc. But my best passion is to building applications, and applications should work fast and not hurt anyone. Not should hurt developers and customers, and not anyone. So.
Okay. The second question is where do you create entity objects? Do you create them in repo, or do you store them in like business logic layer?
Entities mean like models, data models?
Yes, like
in repo. So in repo, I create data models that related to my persistence layer, like active record models. In a business layer, I always creating entities that describing business areas. If it's inventory, so it's inventory. If it's sales, it's sales. You know? So it depends on the business structure.
Okay.
So because architecture, it's not about writing code, as I said. It's about understanding a business and build solution that can fit a business.
Okay. Any questions, guys?
Hello. Very
Yes.
nice talk. Why did you decide to make your own framework instead of making like a checker for something existing, like dry system or something?
Oh, okay, great question. Okay, so it's not a framework. It's not a library. It's not even about implementation. It's about organization. So still, again, under the hood, you can use any kind of implementation of your service layer. It's only a wrapper, only a structure for how you can organize a relationship between your business layers. You know, so it's not a framework. It's only a way how you organize your modules, and checker just check if you not violate those rules. That's all. So, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Здесь еще подумал руку.
I guess it was part answered by this question, but my question was about motivation, like mostly. How did you come to that idea? Was it like pain from past projects, or was it like inspiration to follow all ideas of Sandy Metz and stuff like that?
Yeah, yeah. I think it's yeah. So it's a long story. You know, it's a long way to trying different approaches, trying different implementations, different libraries, to playing with the Trailblazer concepts, to playing with dry containers, to like it's a long way. Of course, even trying to create some self-made service, business processing, and so on. But in the end, I just like give up and say that, okay, so it should be a simple way. It should be a very simple way how we can isolate knowledge inside our application. Why we need isolate? Because very often, with time being, parts of your application is growing. And if you smash the responsibility, so it means that this part can never be extracted from your application. I think for like past years, all my projects is about modularization and code reusability between different projects. And if you want achieve a real modularization, real reusability, so you need very strict to isolate knowledge about it. So just lock all this stuff in the modules. It was like very natural feeling. It's very easy. Just add module, that's all. And I don't know. Okay, let's also, because it's a long story, so we can continue after.
That's great that we come to that idea of simplifying it in that way, because I met another approach in Japanese project when simplifying it was just copy-pasting the same, almost the same code in different models. But I think your idea much better. You should send it somewhere to Japan to read it
to space into red car. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, any questions?
Thank you.
Okay.
Дякую. Дякую. Всі підписались? Я перевірю.